What's going on, everybody? Stanley Parrish here, Pistol Outflow Studios, and welcome back to the channel. First of all, I want to say thank you to you guys for sending out your requests. And a lot of people have been requesting a tutorial on Lightroom, how to get started in Lightroom. So this is what the tutorial is about: how to get started in Lightroom fast. And I'm including 3 of my Lightroom presets for free. So this is going to be kind of a 2-part tutorial. First, we're going to go over how to get started, and then I'm going to show you how to import those presets into Lightroom so you can use them and have some fun and share them with your friends and family. But first, I'm going to let y'all check out the presets right quick. So those were the presets. I hope you like them. Hope you have fun using them. And let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, guys, so I'm about to open up Lightroom. So I'm going to pretend that I have some photos on my memory card, and I'm going to put those on my hard drive somewhere. I don't know where you save your photos, wherever you save your photos. And let me say this: you want to make sure that you're shooting in RAW. Okay, don't try to use these presets on JPEGs, because it won't work. The first thing that I do, I never import my photos from my memory card directly to Lightroom. I always save my photos to my hard drive. Okay, so what you want to do, you want to make a folder. And what I do, I always make a folder and then I just put a date, October 11, 2017, okay? And then I drag my photos from my memory card to this folder. So these are going to be the raw files that I'm going to be working with. This photo right here does not belong to me. I found this off of a website that offers free raw photos to practice on. So now I'm going to open up Lightroom. You want to go up to File, where it says File. You want to go to New Catalog. We're going to start a new catalog. And I'm going to name it Lightroom Tutorial. I'm going to hit Create. It's going to close and reopen. La 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 la. Okay. So right now we're in the library panel, and that's where you want to be when you're importing images. And in the middle here it says click the import button to begin. So click import right here at the bottom left. This is not going to be a full in-depth tutorial. I'm just trying to help you get started. Okay, so my photos are on my desktop. So I'm going to go on the left side. This is where you're going to go to find your photos. So I'm going to go to my C drive, users, Stanley Parrish, desktop, Lightroom tutorial in October 11, 2017. And those are my photos. Go ahead and hit the bottom right corner. Go ahead and hit import. Okay, so on the left side right here, you see where it says folders. This is just showing you where the photos are located. You got collections. You can create collections. So you hit the plus sign here to add a new collection. I'm going to say create collection. And you can just name it, if you want to name it client favorites. If your client has some favorite images from your photo shoot, just put them in here, client favorites. I'm just showing you just quickly how you can do this. You see, so it added a folder called client favorites right here on the left side. And what you can do, you can go back here, you can select, let's say they may say this is the favorite out of the whole bunch. Okay, so you can just drag this over into your client favorites folder, and it's there. So the next thing we want to do is basically what we're here for. We want to go to the develop panel. So at the top, we want to hit develop. And here we go. This is where all the fun goes down. So you see right here on the left side, you have a preview. You can zoom in. Right now it's set to fit. You can hit fill. It's going to zoom in. You can hit 1 to 1. And it's going to zoom all the way in. okay, in your navigator. And below that, you have your presets. This is where you can save all your presets. So if you want to start creating your own presets, this is where you'll find them. And you can also see your collections that you made down here. You can see your history. So any edits that you make to your photo, you'll see it right here under history. I'm going to briefly go over how to edit photos in Lightroom. So on the right side here, where it says WB, that's white balance. The first option, it says add shot, so that's straight out the camera. But let's say if it was a cloudy day, like this was a cloudy day, you can hit this little drop down arrow here under the white balance, and you can choose cloudy. And you can see it kind of warmed it up a little bit. Okay, but I'm going to go back to add shot, and you can see here the temperature. You see everything on the left side is blue, everything on the right side is yellow. So that means everything on the left is going to be cool and everything on the right is going to be warm. So we're going to drag it all the way over to the left. See, that's cool. To the right, that's warm. Okay, then you also have your tint. Everything to the right is going to be your magentas, and then to the left is going to be your greens. And let's go ahead and go down. So you have your exposure. You can bring that exposure down. You can bring it up. And just play around with the sliders. Play around with each one of these sliders to see exactly what they do. Okay, you have the contrast. You can add more contrast. You can take out the contrast. Okay. You have your highlights. If you have highlights that are blown out, you can bring them back down just like this to the left. Or you can drag them. You can drag that to the right to add more highlights. Okay. Okay. So below the highlights, you have your shadows. This is just going to affect all your shadows that you have in your image. So if you bring it down to the left, it's going to deepen the shadows. If you drag it over to the right, it's going to bring the shadows up. So then you have your whites. Everything that's white in the image. If you bring it all the way to the right, no, that's too white. So you drag it over to the right, you're adding white. Drag it to the left, you're reducing the whites. Okay, so I'm going to take it back to 0. Okay, now the next thing is blacks. Those are going to be like your deep shadows. So you can see if you drag it all the way over to the left, it gets real dark in the shadows. If you drag it to the right, it gets kind of washed out. Okay, the next thing we have is clarity. This is kind of like it kind of adds contrast, and it also kind of sharpens the image. So if you drag it over to the left, you see it gets real soft. But if you drag it over to the right, it's going to be real punchy, like real contrasty and sharp. So let's drag it all. See, it's a little bit too much, but you can play around with that. The vibrance. Okay, that's kind of self-explanatory. You adjust the vibrance. Drag it to the left, it's going to be less vibrant. Drag it to the right, it's going to be more vibrant. And the next thing you have is saturation. Drag it over to the right, you're adding more saturation. To the left, all the way to the left, you're going to have a black and white image. You come on down, you have your curves. I've talked about curves before, but you have this diagonal line here, and everything in the middle, I'm going to place a point right here on the line in the middle. Those are going to be my midtones. Okay, I'm going to put a point on the left side. Those are going to be my shadows. So everything on the left side of this graph is shadows. Everything in the middle is going to be your midtones, and everything on the right is going to be your highlights. So what I normally do, I put 3 points. I put 1 point for my shadows, 1 point for my midtones, and 1 point for my highlights. Okay. So I'm going to bring the midtones up just a little bit. I'm going to drag my highlights up just a little bit. And I'm going to bring my shadows down just to add a little bit contrast. Okay, so this next panel is going to be your hue, your saturation, and your luminance. Here you can adjust different colors. You can adjust the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the greens, the aquas, all these colors you can adjust independently. It's real fun to play around with, so I recommend you kind of experiment with that. Okay, so the split toning, the next panel is the split toning. Okay, you have your highlights and your shadows. So let's say you want your highlights to be warm, right? You can click on this little box here where it says highlights and just go to your warm colors over here. Okay, those are all your highlights. So let's say you might not want it that saturated. You can bring your saturation down. Right now it's at 85. You can bring it all the way down to maybe 25. So we warmed up the highlights just a little bit. And let's say you want to cool down the shadows. So on the shadows, you hit the box and just pick a cool color like blue. I'm just gonna crank it all the way up so you can see what it's doing. Okay, so you can see we have very warm highlights and we got some cool shadows going on. Okay, so the next thing is your detail panel. Here is where you adjust the sharpening. You have the amount. I normally go like 50 or 60. So I'm gonna choose 60. Just depends on how much sharpening that your image needs. So the radius, I'm gonna zoom in so you can see what the radius is doing. If you hold the Alt key and drag the slider, you can see in black and white. You see what it's doing is kind of like adding more contrast around the edges in your image, and that kind of helps sharpen it a little bit more. So if you put a radius of 2, see it's kind of sharpening those edges. So that's 1.8. Okay, you can adjust the detail. That gives you a little bit more sharpening as well. The next thing is noise reduction. If you're shooting at a high ISO, you get like a lot of noise in your picture, you can use this noise reduction to remove some of the noise. Okay, the next panel is the effects panel. You can add a vignette. So you drag it to the left, it's going to darken those edges. Okay, so the next thing is grain. You can add grain to your image. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you can see that. If you drag it all the way to the right, you're going to get a bunch of grain. Okay, I'm going to take my vignette down to 0. And down here, the last panel is called camera calibration. I recommend just playing around with this. You see profile, it says Adobe standard. That's what I normally use, but you have all these different profiles that you can use. You got camera landscape, camera portrait, camera vivid, all these different options that you can use. And you have your shadows. You can play with the shadows, the tint of the shadows. Drag it to the left, your shadows get more green. Drag it to the right, get more magenta. Then you have your red primary channel. You can adjust the reds in your image. Just play around with that. You got your greens and your blues. Ooh, she looks like an alien. Okay, so that's how you get started in Lightroom fast. Okay, that was just a quick tutorial just to help you get started, help you get up and running. Okay, so for the second part of this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to import those presets into Lightroom so you can put them to use and have some fun creating some cool images. Okay, so the first thing is we actually have to save the presets to the Lightroom preset folder. So I'm going to show you how to get to the folder. You want to go to Edit. Then you want to go to Preferences. Then we're going to go to the Presets tab. And right here where it says Show Lightroom Presets folder, you want to click on that. Okay. So then it opens up the folder. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Okay, so here's the folder. You want to double click on Lightroom. And then you want to open up develop presets right here. Okay, and as you can see, all of my presets are right here in this folder that I created. Okay, so if you downloaded the folder, it should look something like this. Okay, here are the 3 presets, and what you want to do is you can either drag them over to the user presets folder, or you can create a new folder. Let's say I'm going to create a new folder and just say we'll name it Stanley free presets. Okay, then you want to grab the presets, drag them over, and there you go. You now have your presets in the Lightroom folder where that's supposed to be. Okay, so the first thing you want to do to import the presets, what I normally do is I right click on user presets. You want to right click on it, and then you want to hit import. Okay. Then you want to go to the folder where you save the presets. You want to select all those and just hit import. Okay, so I'm not going to import them because I already have them. So when you import them, you're going to see them right here in your presets panel on the left side right here. And so let's just go ahead and just try out some of the presets. Okay, so the first one is called Unfaded. That's the first one I'm going to try. I'm going to go down to where it says Unfaded, and bam, one click, and I have a nice image that I can use, and I only had to click once. All right, it's a huge time saver. I mean, I really don't even have to do anything else to this image. Okay, so that's the Unfaded. Let's try another. Let's try, what's the next one is called Just Kicking It. So we're gonna go down and find Just Kicking It. Here it is right here. We're gonna click that. Bam. We're just kicking it, baby. Just kicking it. Let's see what this looks like. Again. Bam. One click, people. You can't beat that. So the next one we have is called Fall Vibes. We are currently in the fall season. There's going to be a lot of people, you know, doing those fall portraits. So I said, why not create a preset for fall? Okay, so I'm going to go to this image here. This was that practice raw file that I told you guys about. And we're going to go to Fall Vibes. Bam. One click. And we have a nice fall portrait. Nice colors, nice reds, and nice warm tones. Now, the presets are not going to look good on every image. Let me go ahead and say that. The presets will not look good with every image because every image is different. You're going to have different exposures. Some of your images might be underexposed. Some of them might be overexposed. You know, your images are going to have different colors. On some of your images, the highlights might be blown out. I mean, anything. So, but you can tweak it. You can tweak the preset. So, I mean, 9 times out of 10, when you apply these presets, you will have to go in here and tweak the settings. So just play around with it. And let me know what you guys create. I want to see the images that you create with these presets. Okay, so that's it for the tutorial. Hope you guys was able to learn something. Please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends and family, and I'll see you on the next one.